Hello YouTube, Dawson here. Sorry about that, I was just having some technological issues. So sorry about being a little bit late. This is Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers. Hope everyone's night so far is doing well. And this has been a great series for both teams, and can't wait to see what Game 3 brings. I'll quickly go through leaders for NHL playoffs real quick. The leader in points for these NHL playoffs is Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers with 31 points. In goals, we have Sam Bennett for the Florida Panthers leading in goals with 13. And Connor McDavid for the Edmonton Oilers, leading with assists with 25. We can go to team leaders, and Leon Draisaitl for the Edmonton Oilers leads with 10 goals, and Sam Bennett leads the league with 13 goals, as well as the Florida Panthers. Connor McDavid, as I just was talking about, has 25 assists for Edmonton. Matthew Tkachuk for Florida has 12. Stuart Skinner has 7 wins for Edmonton. And Sergei Bobrovsky has 13 wins for the Florida Panthers. And sorry I wasn't able to stay up for the full game last stream. I was just really tired, and it was really late where I was, so that's why I couldn't stay up for the full game, as it went into 2 overtimes, which Florida won. Hoping for Connor McDavid to get a goal. So hopefully McDavid can get a goal. Yeah, well, at least a point. Or maybe 2. Because if we know McDavid, he can put up multi-point games. And I'll get a poll going. Alright, I got a poll started in chat asking who will win Game 3 between the Edmonton Oilers and Florida Panthers. So if you want to go check that out, go into the chat and you'll see the poll there. As we are getting ready for a puck drop. So feel free to go into chat and contribute to the poll if you feel. And please click that like button and smash that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you're just joining in, please click that subscribe button, and thank you for joining in today's awesome matchup. And I believe Skinner and Bobrovsky will be the starting goaltenders for the Panthers and Oilers. As puck drop is nearing. And seems like Florida might have figured Edmonton out in Game 2. But we'll see what happens here in Game 3. Tried to keep the puck away from Stuart Skinner. And I believe that was kind of what led Florida Panthers to winning Game 2. And we're getting ready for Anthems here. And here we are not quite with Anthems, but we're still waiting on Anthems. Here we go with Anthems. Never mind, I believe that's the coach. Never mind, we're doing lineups right now. We're doing lineups. Colm will be on the starting line, and McDavid on the starting line. Can't wait for him to get a goal, or at least a point. Bouchard on defense. I believe Skinner will be in net. Yep, Skinner will be in net. Now we're going to Florida's lineup. Bobrovsky, I believe, will be starting in net. Barkov will be on the top line for the Florida Panthers. Ekblad will also be on the top line. Forsling will be on the top line. Verhaeghe will also be on the top line here. And Reinhart will also be on the top line for the Florida Panthers. And Sergei Bobrovsky will be in net for the Florida Panthers. And welcome in to all new viewers. We have a great matchup tonight. And if this is your first time joining in, please click that subscribe button. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And here we go with Anthems. Good start here with the Canadian anthem. right. Good start with the anthems. What's up, K2 expert? How's it going? This will be a great game tonight. As we are pretty much set here for puck drop. And we'll see if we have any incidents with Sam Bennett and Stuart Skinner. Hopefully Bennett doesn't try and injure another goalie here, as we are set for face-off here. And Edmonton wins the draw and sends it into Florida zone. Florida coming behind the net to pick it up. Edmonton sends it back up. Shot sent wide. Never mind, that is stopped by Bobrovsky. And Connor McDavid in the corner with a little hit to eventually to the shot on goal by Evan Bouchard. Face-off one here by Florida as they try and get it into Edmonton's end. Edmonton from their own end tries to send it up ice, and here comes Edmonton on a chance. Maybe a little bit of a trip, but a shot on goal sent, I believe, off the pad of Bobrovsky and up into the netting. I'm surprised McDavid even got the pass off as he was falling down after that little bit of a trip. Here's the face-off in Florida zone, won by Florida, as Marchand passes it to, I believe, Bennett. Here's Florida sending it into Edmonton zone, and Stuart Skinner covers the puck up. Stuart Skinner has done great over the series so far, despite letting in, I believe, 9 goals in the series. So far, he's done so far so well. As Florida wins the face-off and goes behind the net, tried to center, right in front of the net. Oh, and they score! Florida is up 1-0. Florida's up 1-0. Marchand. Yeah, Marchand was parked right in front of the net. And that was wild. That was a wild goal by Brad Marchand to open the scoring. Sorry here, I'm just trying to get the game screen loaded. That was quite a goal by the Florida Panthers. And Florida makes it 1-0 early. Edmonton sends it into the zone. Florida tries to clear, which they do. Here's a 2-on-2 chance, a near breakaway pass broken up by Edmonton. That was near dangerous again. And here's a mini 3-on-2, which was quickly dismantled here. And here comes Florida, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Skinner out to play the puck. Here's Florida now. Offsides will be the call. Welcome in to all new viewers. We're just getting started here as Florida quickly takes a 1-0 lead. Florida wins the face-off and sends it into Edmonton's zone. And sending it back down is Florida. Behind the net now, sending it back up to the blue line. Shot deflected wide. Shot wide goes back out to center as Florida sends it back into the zone and Skinner's out to stop the puck. Edmonton now coming through center, sending it into Florida zone. Florida now on a chance. Saved by Stuart Skinner. Puck sent down the ice, stopped by Skinner, who came out to play that puck as the puck comes back up to Bouchard. Here's Bouchard again. Shot. Saved by Bobrovsky. That was a wild goal by Brad Marchand to make it 1-0 early. Yeah, Skinner kind of came way out of his net on the first goal here. I'll get the... What's the whistle? Maybe offside. As I was saying, I'll get the caption here updated. Penalty here. As Edmonton will get the first power play of the game. As Florida wins the face-off and puts the puck out of play. We'll see who got the first goal. Yep, Brad Marchand got the first goal. What a start to this game so far. Face off in Florida zone. Face off won by Edmonton. Bouchard now over to McDavid with a shot blocked in front. Here's a pass up to Bouchard. He sends it down low for, I believe, Draisaitl, and Bouchard passes to McDavid. And missed pass goes out to center ice. Or into Edmonton zone, and Skinner out to play the puck. And here comes McDavid with speed. Quick stop. Here's Draisaitl now. Passes up to Bouchard. Here's Draisaitl now. Pass down to McDavid. Shot. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Here's Bouchard with a shot. Saved by Bobrovsky. And here's Bouchard with the puck again. As Edmonton now comes behind the net. McDavid. Shot. Another shot. Saved by Bobrovsky. McDavid now with the puck. Here's Bouchard. Here's Nugent Hopkins over to Bouchard. Or not Bouchard, sorry. Here's Bouchard now with a shot. Blocked in front. And that shot goes up and out of play. 30 seconds left to go on the penalty, and nearly 15 minutes left to go in this first period. On Bouchard's shot went off the mask of Bobrovsky. That was a wild save. That was a wild save. Edmonton wins draw. Here's Edmonton sending it deep, and here's shot. And saved by Bobrovsky. Here's Edmonton again. 10 seconds left to go in the power play. And Evander Kane gets a penalty for cross-checking here. Okay, yep, I can see the penalty there. As we will go to 4-on-4 for just a few seconds here. What a wild start to this game so far. As we will have 9 seconds of 4-on-4 here. Here's a face-off in Edmonton zone. Face-off won by Edmonton, as Edmonton tries to clear the puck, and they do. 4-on-4 ends, and Florida has a penalty in a shot saved by Stuart Skinner. With just under 1:50 left in Florida's power play. Yeah, what a game up to this point so far. Goal scored under 3 minutes into the game. As we'll get face-off in Edmonton zone. Won by Edmonton as they send it down the ice. Bobrovsky out to play the puck. Here comes Florida. Coming through center. Edmonton clears the puck. Florida sends it in deep. Skinner out to stop the puck. Offside appears to be the call. Yeah, we have a poll going for all new viewers who want to vote on who you think will win the game between Edmonton and Florida. Here's a face-off at center ice. Face-off won here by Florida as they come directly into the Edmonton zone. As Florida tries to keep it in the zone. Edmonton clears the puck. Here's Florida sending it into Edmonton zone. And then near chance there. Puck just sent wide. Another shot here saved by Skinner. 40 seconds left in the penalty. Here's Jones passing it back up. Here's Edmonton now. Florida. Another shot saved by Skinner. And Skinner covers the puck up. Welcome in to all new viewers. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Feel free to share with friends as well. Just over 13 minutes left to go as Edmonton wins the face-off and tries to clear the puck, but Florida keeps it in. The shot by Florida stopped by Skinner, and Edmonton clears the puck. Stopped by Bobrovsky, and I believe that'll kill off the penalty here as Florida sends it in. Skinner out to stop the puck, and take away by Florida. As Edmonton now gathers the puck as they try and send it into Florida zone, but Florida gets it right back and Florida ices the puck. What a game so far for Florida, as an early goal by Florida brings them up 1-0. Here's a face-off in Florida zone. Won by Florida, I believe. As here comes Florida trying to send it into Edmonton zone, but here comes Edmonton now at center, sending it into Florida zone. Florida behind their net. And another penalty on Evander Kane again. I know what the refs are seeing, but okay, maybe a high stick. Maybe a little bit of a high stick there. 2 minutes to the box. Welcome in to all new viewers. Hope your day's going well so far. If If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this year. And we'll see if we can get the stream to 10 likes by the end here. And we have a poll going on in the live chat, so feel free to go cast your vote on who you think will win between Edmonton and Florida in Game 3. And what a game up to this point. Marchand scores 56 seconds into the game. So that was a wild start to the game. Florida is on a power play off an Evander Kane high stick. Face-off won by Florida, but Edmonton gets the puck and tries to clear. But Florida gets the puck back, and Edmonton now clears the puck. And Bobrovsky out to stop it behind his net. Here comes Florida now. Through center. Kachuk sending it to Barkov. Behind the net. Jones now. Sending it behind the net. And misplayed puck as Edmonton clears it. Only out the center though, as Florida regains possession and gets it right back in the zone. Here's Nurse trying to clear it, and Edmonton tries to clear again, but can only get it to the blue line. Here's Florida now behind the net. Shot, saved by Stuart Skinner. Here's Florida again behind the net, sending it up high. Here's Edmonton now, clearing the puck. 30 seconds left to go in the power play for Florida, as Bobrovsky elects to play the puck. Here's Jones. Sending it into the zone, but Edmonton gets the puck back, shorthanded. But shot deflected as here comes Florida through center. And a shot saved by Skinner as Edmonton sends it out. Less than 10 minutes left to go here in the first period as here comes Edmonton through center. Offsides will be the call. Penalty coming up, I believe. And Marchand has the only goal for Florida up to this point, as it is tied 1-1. Welcome into all new viewers. Shots on goal are in favor of Edmonton, 9-8. hits are also in favor of Edmonton, 7-2. Blocked shots are tied at 1. Takeaways are in favor of Florida, 2-1. And 3 total penalties up to this point. 2 for Edmonton and Evander Kane, who has 1. Evander Kane has 1 cross-checking penalty and 1 high-sticking penalty. And 1 penalty for Florida. So this has been a game so far for both teams. I guess the penalty is too many men on the ice for Edmonton. That's not a penalty that you want to take, especially when down 1-0. As a face-off will come in Florida's zone, which Edmonton wins and clears down the ice. And Bobrovsky is out to play the puck behind his net. Here's Jones coming from behind his net. As Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone and Skinner out to play the puck. Scrum for the puck behind the net, and Edmonton clears the puck again, and Officer Ball about to stop the puck, or at least play the puck to his teammate. And Florida now, sorry. And another penalty. This time to Florida. For tripping, I believe. And Go Zebras is right, because they're making some calls, as we'll get nearly a minute of 4-on-4. And the face-off in Florida zone. Here's a face-off won by Edmonton. Puck sent behind the net. Here's Florida now. Behind the net. Less than a minute of 4-on-4. Here comes Florida through center into Edmonton's zone. Here's a centering pass as Florida sends the puck behind the net. 30 seconds of 4-on-4 before Edmonton will go on a power play. And here's Florida trying to center. Pass sent just wide. Here's Florida now with a shot. Shot blocked in front. 10 seconds of 4-on-4. As here comes, not Kachuk, sorry. And here comes Edmonton as 4-on-4 expires. And Edmonton will go on a power play for less than a minute. Here's Bouchard, shot, saved by Bobrovsky. Glove side, and Florida clears it. Skinner out to play the puck. Here comes Edmonton. 30 seconds of power play time for Edmonton. And Draisaitl has the puck now. McDavid. And Florida clears the puck. 15 seconds left to go as Edmonton will try and get one last rush in before the power play expires. And here's McDavid. Klingberg can't hold on to it, and Florida will clear it out the center. And that'll bring it back to full strength. Klingberg. Nurse can't control it as he goes behind his net. And Florida now behind Edmonton's net. Here's Florida with a centering pass. Shot sent just wide as Edmonton is trying to clear the puck. They do, only up to center though, as Florida sends it back into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida with a chance in front. Can't get the shot off. And here comes Edmonton, sending it into Florida's zone. Bobrovsky out to stop the puck. Here comes Florida, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Hit behind the net and a shot blocked in front as Florida sends it behind Edmonton's net. As Edmonton clears it out the center, and here's a partial breakaway and a shot just wide as that goes out of play. Welcome in to all new viewers. Glad you could join in. Please click that subscribe button if you haven't yet. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And I got a poll going in the live chat on who you think will win Game 3 between Edmonton and Florida. So feel free to go check it out. And we'll see if we can get to 10 likes on the stream before yeah, let's set a goal. Maybe by halfway through the first intermission. Maybe. And we'll have some hockey trivia here during the intermission. And we'll see if I can pull out some hockey cards during the intermission. So you'll want to stay tuned for what cards I'll pull out. And Florida's up 1-0 in Game 3. As we'll get a face-off in Florida zone, and that is won by Edmonton as they send it behind the net. And here's Tkachuk trying to clear it out the center, and they do. Maybe another penalty here. Wonder what that penalty is. I think Sam Bennett's getting the penalty, as Edmonton will go to the power play, and the puck is sent down into Edmonton's zone, and Skinner's out to stop that. And here comes Edmonton through center ice. Here comes McDavid with speed as he tries to get a shot off, but can't. Sends the puck to Draisaitl. Sends it back up to Bouchard. Here's McDavid. Sending it back up, and here's Bouchard now. McDavid with a shot. Chaos in front. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Draisaitl. Bouchard. Draisaitl. Shot. Or never mind, a pass to Corey Perry, who passed it to McDavid. And here's Bouchard. McDavid. Here's Bouchard now with a shot. Saved by Bobrovsky. Here's McDavid. Loses handle of the puck and sends it deep. And here's Corey Perry behind net. Brings it up to Bouchard. Here's McDavid, I believe. Here's chaos in front again. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Bouchard over to Draisaitl. Bouchard again. Shot sent just wide. Draisaitl passing it back up to Bouchard. 15 seconds left to go, and here's pass in front. Couldn't get through. As Edmonton keeps it in. Here's McDavid. Couldn't connect the pass, and that'll be the end of the power play. Florida kills another penalty here. With 3 minutes, 10 seconds left to go, as icing will be the call. Welcome into all new viewers. Thank you for joining in. Feel free to go cast a vote in the poll on who you think will win Game 3 between Edmonton and Florida. And feel free to subscribe as well for more content like this. As Florida wins the face-off and Edmonton clears it down the ice, and Jones now going behind his net. As a centering pass misses the mark. As the scrum will form at center ice. As penalties will be called. And goaltender interference for Edmonton here. Yes, he tried to avoid as an Oiler collided with Sergei Bobrovsky, which started the chaos at center ice here. Arvidsson will get the penalty for goaltender interference. Not a penalty you want to take when you're down 1-0. Not a penalty you want to take when you're down 1-0. As Florida wins the face-off in a quick shot. Stopped by Skinner. Here's Florida. Rodriguez will pass it off to his teammate. And the shot saved by Skinner. Another shot blocked. Here's another shot, and they score again on the power play. Wow. Not how you want to start a game. Not how you want to start a game at all if you're Edmonton. I'm sure they'll talk about this during intermission. As Connor Verhaeghe will go posting in. Sneaky to beat Skinner. As Edmonton wins the face-off and sends it into Florida zone. And Edmonton now in their own zone. Here's Perry, but he will be offsides. What a start to this game. Two quick goals for the Florida Panthers. Face-off won by Florida. As the shot is blocked. Never mind. That's just a replay of the goal. Here's Florida through center, sending it into Edmonton zone. Here's Edmonton coming through center. Less than a minute and a half to go in the period. As Florida clears the puck. Here's Edmonton coming through center. Shot denied by Sergei Bobrovsky. 1 minute left to go here in the first period. And here comes Florida from behind their net. Marchand. Taken away by Edmonton, but that'll be offsides. 41.8 seconds left to go. And what a period so far. And this series has been physical up to this point, as Edmonton now behind net. The shot fanned on as a broken stick. And here's Edmonton now in their own zone. Here's Edmonton sending it into Florida zone. Along the boards now as Florida will come out, sending it into Edmonton zone, and that'll run out the time on the first period. As Florida, and the scrum breaking out here. And Kane going after Tkachuk. Kane was going after Tkachuk. Oh no. Burrow. Lindell was digging at the puck after the whistle had blown, and then chaos ensued after the whistle. And that'll wrap up the first period of play here. As Florida leads 2-0. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the first intermission screen set. There we go. I'll pull up some hockey trivia here. And then I'll pull out some hockey cards. There we go. Got a good riddle here. Powerful and swift, a shot so fine, lifted high, goalie divine, all the time. What am I? That's the riddle, as I'll give that a little bit. If you want to answer in the chat. Powerful and swift, a shot so fine, left it high, a goal divine, all the time. What am I? I'll give it 10 more seconds here if you want to put in your answer. And the answer is a slap shot. I'll find another one here. I have found another one. Strong and forceful, a shot so bold, pushing opponents, never growing old. What am I? I'll give that 30 seconds here. If you want to answer the riddle or give your best shot, feel free. Strong and forceful, a shot so bold, pushing opponents, never growing old or cold. What am I? The answer? A body check, otherwise known as a hit. We'll try and find another one. Trying to find a good one here. This one's kind of a little bit of a funny joke here. Why did the hockey player bring string to the game? In case he had to tie the score. That's kind of funny. Got another good joke here. Why do hockey players make great astronauts? Because they're always good at shooting for the stars. That's kind of funny. Found another good one here. Why did the hockey player go to art class? To learn how to draw penalties. These are some pretty good jokes. Trying to find some, you know what, I'll just do one more riddle here, and then I'll go to some hockey cards. I'll do this one. Armed and ready, I stand tall and strong, guarding the net all day long, never wrong. Who am I? I'll leave a little bit of time here in case you want to answer. The answer is the goalie. Alrighty. We'll move on to some hockey cards here. They're coming from behind the camera today. We'll see what hockey cards I can bring out today. Get some analytics on. I'll do this one and this one. This one. One. I'll do these four for right now. I'll do this one first. I have Sergei Bobrovsky up first for the Florida Panthers. He has had a solid game so far, making incredible pad saves and great saves in general. As he's had to scramble all around the crease and make some great saves. And that is how this game is at 2-0 so far in favor of Florida in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. This next card is also a good card. Connor McDavid, another good player here for the Edmonton Oilers. He has, I believe, had a good point streak going, getting a point in, I believe, the last few games here. And hopefully that point streak continues here throughout the rest of the playoffs. And hopefully Edmonton ends up winning the cup, breaking a 32, 33-year cupless drought for Canada. Hopefully Connor McDavid, can lead the way in that. Got another good card here. Brad Marchand, in his Bruins jersey. He has had the opening goal in this game so far. As Marchand has been doing good in this series. Yeah, he has had a couple goals, maybe even a couple assists. He's done really well for the Florida Panthers up to this point. I believe Marchand has 8 goals up to this point in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, yeah, he's done good up and down the ice. And then Stuart Skinner for the Edmonton Oilers. A little bit of a rocky start to this game, allowing 2 goals in this opening period. But hopefully that changes here in this next period. And yeah, hopefully Stuart Skinner continues to do great things throughout the rest of the playoffs. And hopefully he continues to look like prime Carey Price. Yeah, barely allowing any goals. Having a great save percentage. Those are the 4 players that I thought are doing well so far in this series. And in these playoffs. We'll see what else I can pull up here. Goal scorers so far. Brad Marchand opens the scoring nearly a minute in. And then Carter Verhaeghe on the power play makes it 2-0 for Florida. And Edmonton is leading in shots, 12-10, as well as in hits, 12-5. Florida is leading in blocked shots, 6-5, as well as in giveaways and takeaways. Giveaways and takeaways, 2-1. And we're getting ready here to get into this second period of play. So we'll get the game screen ready to go, and Edmonton wins the face-off here. As here comes Edmonton with speed. Here's McDavid trying to get the puck behind the net, but Florida tries to send it out, and here's Edmonton at the blue line. Here's Bouchard passing off to a teammate. Bouchard with a shot. Bobrovsky with the save, and Florida clears the puck. Skinner out to play the puck. Here comes McDavid through center. Sending it back up to the blue line. Here's Bouchard sending it to his teammate. Couldn't handle the puck, and Florida sends it down the ice. As Edmonton is on a power play, I believe, for roughing. Here's Bouchard sending it back for McDavid. Corey Perry passing it to Bouchard. Here's Nugent Hopkins, Ekholm. Passing it. Never mind. Or passing it, yeah. Here's Ekholm. Bouchard. Shot. Oh, and they score! Corey Perry makes it 2-1. What a goal. For Corey Perry. Makes it 2-1 Edmonton. Florida. As Florida wins the face-off and sends it deep in Edmonton zone. As Florida now trying to gain control of the puck, which they do. Here's Florida. Shot. Sent just wide. Florida, another shot. Sent wide. Here's another shot. Saved by Skinner. Skinner was knocked down. As Edmonton sends it into Florida zone. Here's Florida. Trying to clear the puck. And they do. But the puck goes into the bench. Out of play. We'll enter in Corey Perry's goal here. That is his 9th of the playoffs. As Florida still leads 2-1. Now off of the goal from Corey Perry. As we'll get a face-off at center ice, and Florida wins that draw. As Florida flips it out to center. Here's Florida sending it deep in Edmonton zone, and Edmonton picks it up behind their net. And here's Florida with a shot, and they score! Reinhardt makes it 3-1. Was that like a minute after Corey Perry made it 3-1? Wow. What a goal. As Reinhardt makes it 3-1. Don't believe that was Skinner's fault at all, as I don't believe he could see that. And here comes Draisaitl. shot sent wide. Here's Florida, and near chance for Florida, and Skinner pokes it away, and now Edmonton behind their net, coming through center. As Draisaitl tried to break through. And Edmonton sends it back into the zone, but delayed offsides. And here's Florida now, sending it through center. And here's Edmonton behind their net. Here's Edmonton in their zone. Corey Perry in again. Here's Florida. Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone. Big hit along the boards, and Edmonton tries to clear the puck, and they do. Florida sends it right back in, though. Edmonton now behind their net. Here comes Edmonton with speed. Through center. Deke. Attempted pass in front. And here's a shot. Blocked in front. And Florida clears it out to center ice. And here comes Edmonton. Sending it into Florida's zone. Here's Florida. Along the boards. Florida sends it out to center. Now in Edmonton's zone. Here's a chance in front. Saved by Stuart Skinner as Edmonton clears the puck. Here comes Florida, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here's fight along the boards for the puck behind the net. And the shot saved by Skinner. Another shot sent wide. Here's chance in front. Shot denied. And the shot again stopped by Stuart Skinner. Here's Edmonton now with a chance, coming through center, sending it into Florida's zone. Here's Florida, and a big hit from behind. Here's a shot blocked by Edmonton. Here comes Edmonton, sending it into Florida's zone. Fight along the boards for the puck. Here's Florida coming through center, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Skinner out to stop the puck. Here comes Edmonton. Tried to send it in, but here comes Florida. Skinner out to play the puck. Here comes Edmonton. Oh, big hit at center ice. Oh, here's a breakaway. 2-0. Here they score. They score. On the 2-0 breakaway. Well, Skinner had no chance, as he was basically left out to dry by his defenseman, as Edmonton was trying to be a little too aggressive. And then that leads to the goal. Sam Bennett. his 14th of these playoffs. Well, wasn't completely Skinner's fault for not saving the puck. But here's Florida at center, sending it into Edmonton zone. Skinner out to play the puck. Here's Edmonton at center. McDavid passing it back. Here's Florida sending it into the far corner, and Skinner out to play the puck. And now here's Edmonton from behind their net, sending it to center. And here's Edmonton in their own zone. And here's Florida, the shot, saved by Skinner. Here's Florida sending it into Edmonton's zone. Skinner out to play the puck. Here's Edmonton behind the net, sending it into Florida zone. And here's Florida clearing out the puck. And that goes out of play. Not looking good for Edmonton as they are down 4-1 nearly halfway through this game. Something's going to have to change in the game plan here for Edmonton if they want to win this game. And maybe it could be a goal for Connor McDavid to hopefully hype up this Edmonton squad. Maybe it could be a pep talk in the second intermission. Who knows? But it's not looking good for Edmonton, as they are getting pumped right now. Not looking good at all. I'll pull up some stats here. Shots on goal are equal at 15 per team. Both teams are 1 for 4 on the power play. Edmonton has 17 hits and Florida only has 10. Edmonton has 9 blocked shots and Florida has 7. As here comes a face-off in Florida zone. Here's the face-off, which Florida wins. Florida brings it out the center as they send it into Edmonton zone. And Florida brings it out the center again. And big hit at center ice. And here comes McDavid with speed. And here comes Florida now in a 3-on-2. Shot saved by Stuart Skinner. Florida sends it in deep. Behind the net now is Marchand. Here's Edmonton now with speed. Nugent Hopkins passing it back up. Shot sent just wide. As scrum for the puck comes loose and Florida sends it out to center ice. Here comes Evander Kane sending it into the glove of Bobrovsky. What a game up to this point. Halfway through the game, Oilers are down 4-1. I even got my Oilers shirt. And Edmonton is still down 4-1. Not good if you're Edmonton. Hopefully Connor McDavid can provide a spark. And hopefully can get back into this game. And hopefully Edmonton can come back from this deficit. Shots here nearly equal. This has been a great period if you're the Florida Panthers, scoring 4 goals. If you're Edmonton, you gotta figure out what's going on. And hopefully Connor McDavid can hopefully get a goal here. As Edmonton, I don't know, McDavid might be heading back to the locker room for a little bit. Here's Nurse with a shot, blocked by Bobrovsky, and here's Edmonton now sending it behind the net, and here comes Florida sending it behind their own net, and Edmonton now sending it behind net, and it's entered in front. Couldn't get the shot off, and Bobrovsky down, and he made the stop in a scrum in front of the net here. And McDavid appears to be back on the bench, doing alright. And maybe a fight will start that spark in Edmonton to hopefully come back. But might be their captain, Connor McDavid, scoring a goal. Or maybe McDavid having a speech in the locker room during the second intermission. Speaking of McDavid, he's out on the ice now. Face off here in Florida zone. Florida wins that face off, as Florida sends it into Edmonton zone. Florida sending it deep in Edmonton zone. Here's Florida in front. Saved by Skinner. Here's Draisaitl. Stretch pass for McDavid. Tried to get the shot off, but Florida sends the puck back out to center ice. Here's Edmonton. Edmonton passing over to Draisaitl. Sending it behind the net. Ekholm at the blue line takes a shot. Saved by Bobrovsky. As the scrum starts in front of the net. And what a game. Edmonton is leading in shots, 20-17. As well as in hits, 18-16. As well as in blocked shots, 10-6. And here's the face-off in Florida zone. Won by Edmonton, and the shot towards Bobrovsky. Saved by Bobrovsky as fight for the puck along the boards. Here's Edmonton at the blue line. Ekholm sending it behind the net. As Edmonton tries to gain possession. Sending it behind the net. Here's Edmonton with a chance. Couldn't get the shot off. Bouchard sending it deep. And here comes Florida. Sending it in deep. Here comes Edmonton. Vander Kane passes Nugent Hopkins in a shot sent just wide. Here's Edmonton, but the puck gets away, and here's Marchand. Here's Florida sending it into the zone. Here's Edmonton. Coming out through center, and pass went just wide. And here's Florida sending it into Edmonton zone. Skinner out to play the puck. Bit risky there. Here's Edmonton. Coming through center. Here's Florida with a chance. Edmonton tries to send that to center, but Florida gets the puck back and shot towards the net. Sent wide. And here's Florida in their own zone. Getting it through center. Here's Florida with a chance. Couldn't quite get the shot off. Here's Edmonton behind the net. Sending it through center, and icing will be the call. Welcome into all new viewers. Hope your night's going well so far. Feel free to cast a vote in a poll asking who will win between Edmonton and Florida. And And if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And here's Florida behind the net. Barkov behind the net. Tried to center. Couldn't get the shot off, and Edmonton sends it into Florida zone. Here's Florida coming from their own zone in center ice now. Florida now along the boards. Sending it deep. Here's Florida now against the walls. Edmonton trying to clear, but Florida puts it in deep again. Here's Edmonton now. Sending it in deep. Here's Florida now. Trying to bring it out to center, but Edmonton tried to send it in. And here's Florida now. Kachuk shot. Saved by Skinner. And rebound. Couldn't get a shot off. Here's a chance in front for Edmonton. Couldn't get the shot off. And here's Edmonton sending it into Florida zone. Kachuk sends it behind the net for Florida. And here comes Florida now. Shot. Sent wide. Here's Edmonton now. Sending it into Florida zone. Florida up from behind their net. Here's Florida sending it behind the net. Here's Florida. Tried to pass it in front. Here's Edmonton. Edmonton tried to center, but Florida sends it down the ice, and we will get icing. Welcome in to all new viewers. Click that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And Florida wins the face-off, and here's Edmonton in their own zone trying to get it through center, and here's Corey Perry. And here's Florida trying to send it down the ice. Maybe a high stick. And things are getting physical in this game. Things are getting physical. Welcome in to all new viewers. Hope everyone's doing well. Please click that subscribe button so I can do more streams like this. Shots on goal here are in favor of Edmonton, 21-19. Hits are also in favor of Edmonton, 18-17. As well as shots blocked, hitting 12-8. Takeaways are tied at 3. Yeah, this series has been full of big hits, great shots, and great goals for both teams. And we'll have to see what the rest of the series brings. Hopefully more physicalness throughout the rest of the series here. Here's Florida trying to send it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton from behind their net. Tried to stretch the puck out, or the play out, sorry. Here's Edmonton passing to center. Trying to pass it to center, but picked off by Florida. Edmonton sends it into Florida's zone, and icing will be the call. What a game so far for both teams, as nearly 2 minutes left to go in the second period here. And here's the face-off. And nearly 2 minutes left to go here in the second period of play. Florida leads 4-1. Here's a shot saved by Bobrovsky after a one face-off by Edmonton. Here's Edmonton now, couldn't get the shot off. McDavid now. Here's a shot. Glove save by Bobrovsky. And scrum forming in front of the net. A good sequence of events for Edmonton, getting some shots on net. Unfortunately, none found the back of the net. As we will get a face-off here in Florida zone. Excuse me. Here's Edmonton now sending it behind the net. Here's Florida sending it to center. Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone and Skinner out to stop the puck. Here's Edmonton now, sending it into Florida's zone. Here's Florida sending it into Edmonton's zone. McDavid battling for the puck. Nurse getting some cross checks. He's going to get called for that, I bet. And then another cross check from Nurse as he's going to go to the box for you can't do that. As cross checking penalty will be given to Darnell Nurse. As with 44 seconds left, Nurse is given a penalty for cross-checking. And fight? Is a fight going on? No? Just a scrum after the play, I think. And some chirping on the bench going. As a face-off will come into Florida zone, or Edmonton zone, I'm sorry. Scrum along the board for the pucks, and Edmonton comes away with the puck, and they clear it into Florida's zone. Bobrovsky plays the puck, in under half a minute to go in second period. And the chance stopped by Skinner. Under 20 seconds left to go here, and Edmonton clears the puck. Here comes Florida, sending it into Edmonton's zone, as Edmonton behind the net tries to clear it. And that is the end of the second period here. As Edmonton is down 4-1. As we go into the second intermission here. I'll try and find a couple more riddles here. Found a good riddle here. Victory symbol, not for tea. Win me once, and history you'll see. Forever free. What am I? We'll give some time for some answers to roll in. I'll give 10 more seconds. Victory symbol, not for tea. Win me once, and history you'll see. Forever free. What am I? The answer is the Stanley Cup. Found another riddle. Dropped and poised. The game's on the line. 2 players ready. The battle's mine. All the time. What am I? Oh, let some time lapse here. Dropped and poised, the game's on the line. 2 players ready, the battle's mine. All the time. What am I? The answer is a face-off. I'll do one more here. Timing is key. Don't pass too soon, or your play's void, and your team will swoon in June. What am I? Timing is key. Don't pass too soon, or your play's void, and your team will swoon in June. What am I? The answer is offsides. I'll do a joke here. Why did the hockey player bring a ladder to the game? To get the high stick. That's a good joke. And I'll end the poll here. And here are the results. Pretty good results. I'll quickly run through goal scores here. And then I'll run through a couple stats. Brad Marchand for the Florida Panthers opened up the scoring and made it 1-0 Florida. And then Verhaeghe on the power play made it 2-0 Florida. And then Corey Perry on the power play made it 2-1 for Edmonton. And then Sam Reinhart made it 3-1 Florida. I believe a minute and 20 seconds later. And then Sam Bennett with his 14th goal of the playoffs made it 4-1 Florida. Yeah, I bet Edmonton's getting their third period gameplay ready for the rest of the game here. Florida has power play going into the third period after Darnell Nurse got a minor for cross-checking. Edmonton is leading in shots, 24-19, as well as in hits, 22-19, and blocked shots with 12, and Florida only has 8 blocked shots. Takeaways are equal at 3 each. And total of 9 penalties so far called in this game. Yeah, only 2 goals were scored on the power play. And let's do one last joke or riddle. For what reason did the hockey mentor go to the pastry kitchen? To get a few rolls for his group. Maybe not the best, but still something. We'll do one last riddle here. Here's a fun riddle. Alone I wait for breaking rules, contemplating in silent schools. What am I? The answer? Penalty box. We'll bring one last stat. As the third period could be or should be right around the corner. Edmonton is still in the lead in terms of hits, 22-21. Edmonton also leads in giveaways, 10-4. And let's see what's going on around the league. Apparently, TJ Oshie from Washington Capitals is announcing his retirement after 16 NHL seasons. Oshie had 695 points in 1,010 NHL regular season games with St. Louis and Washington. And according to the NHL news outlet. I believe Ovechkin will play out the last season in his contract before retiring. I believe next season. Can't remember where I heard that from, but well, third period should be starting here soon. And welcome into all new viewers. Hope everyone's night's going well. If If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button so I can do more streams like this. My goal is to get to 100 subscribers by the end of this year. So it'd be greatly appreciated if you please subscribe. And third period should be starting here soon. And here we go. Florida wins the face-off, as Florida has a minute and 10 seconds left on the power play. Here's Edmonton trying to clear. Here's Florida sending it back in. Edmonton sends it down the ice. Here's Florida from their own zone. Here comes Florida. Through center, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Less than 30 seconds left to go in Florida's penalty. Edmonton sends it down. Here's Florida through center. 10 seconds left to go as Florida will look for one last push on the power play. Power play is over now as Edmonton tries to pass it out to center. Edmonton sends it behind the net. Florida, excuse me. Here's Florida at center, sending it into Edmonton's zone. Icing will be the call. We'll get a face-off in Florida's zone. What a game up to this point. Yeah, luckily Edmonton has killed off most of the penalties tonight as Florida wins the face-off. Here's Edmonton now, sending it behind the net. Here's Edmonton now. Florida takes the puck away, and here's Florida through center, sending it behind Edmonton's net. Skinner out to play the puck. And that'll go out of play, and possibly a delay of game penalty here. A delay of game penalty it is. As Skinner was attempting to send it around the boards. Can't do that when you're down 4-1 and less than 20 minutes to go here. Here's the face-off won by Florida. Bennett. Shot. Stopped by Skinner, and the puck comes out to center ice. Here's Bennett again with the puck. Shot. Saved by not Verhaeghe, I'm sorry. My brain is just completely turned into mush at this point. Puck was saved by Skinner. Face-off won here by Florida, and a shot saved by Skinner. Great saves made by both Bobrovsky and Skinner, as the face-off is won here by Florida. Here's Florida again with a shot. Chaos in front. Saves made by Skinner. And here's Florida again. Shot. Saved by Skinner. Shot again. Saved again by Skinner. As he gloves that. Great chances for Florida there to make it 5-1, but great defense for Edmonton. Keeps the puck out of the back of the net. Right around a minute left in the penalty. Here's Florida after the one face-off. Here's Barkov down low. And a good passing sequence, and they score! Aaron Epklad, I believe Epklad got the goal on the power play. Good passing sequence for the Panthers there. And it is 5-1 Panthers. That was a good power play goal by Florida. Skinner couldn't get to that in time. As Stuart Skinner is pulled from the game. Poor Skinner gets pulled from the game after letting in 5 goals. With 16:33 left to go. Florida wins the face-off here, and here's Florida, saved by Pickard. Edmonton sent it out of harm's way. That's Edmonton now behind the net. As centering pass is deflected by Florida. And here's Edmonton now behind their net. Here's Edmonton now. Here's an attempted shot. Couldn't get through traffic. Here's a good chance, and Bobrovsky made a good poke check save. And here's Florida sending it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida. Tried to center it in front. Couldn't get the shot off. Here's Florida behind the net. Here's Edmonton trying to break into Florida's zone, but Florida sends it into Edmonton's zone. Here's Edmonton now. Offsides is call and scrum. Nearly dropping the gloves there. Man, just some... This game is getting chippy. This game is getting chippy. And on that great chance, I believe by Draisaitl, he just couldn't get the shot off. And Florida's going to get a penalty, I believe, or power play, I'm sorry, for, I believe, roughing. Roughing, yeah. As Edmonton clears the puck. Here comes Florida. Through center. Here's Edmonton behind the net, trying to clear. Here's Edmonton now. Coming through center ice, shorthanded. And offsides is the call. This has been a back and forth game in terms of like hits, but not in terms of scoring though. As Edmonton is just getting pumped 5-1. Welcome in to all new viewers. Thanks for joining in tonight. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button so I can do more great streams like this. And Edmonton wins the face-off and sends it into Florida's zone before Florida gets the puck. Here's Florida in Edmonton's zone. Here's a pass in front. Couldn't get the shot off. Here's Florida. Shot. Saved by Pickard. Here's Florida, another shot. Blocked in front. Less than 40 seconds now left in the penalty. Here's Florida coming through center. Here's Tkachuk passing to Barkov. Here's Florida now. Around 20 seconds left. Shot saved by Pickard. Here's Florida. Edmonton gets a hold of the puck and clears it down the ice. Bobrovsky out to stop it. And there's the end of the penalty. Back to 5-on-5. As puck sent toward Pickard, and he stops that with ease. And here comes Florida at center, as offsides is the call. Third period of game 3. I'm sorry. And Edmonton is down 5-1. Shots are in favor of Florida, 27-26. Hits are in favor of Edmonton, 26-22. Blocked shots are in favor of Edmonton, 14-10. Giveaway or takeaways, I'm sorry, are tied at 3. Yet Florida is still leading 5-1. Just absolutely destroying Edmonton in Game 3 of these Stanley Cup Finals. Aaron Epquad recently added to the lead, making it 5-1 for Florida. And here's Florida after the one face-off, sending it behind Pickard's net. Here's Edmonton now, gaining speed. Tried to center, couldn't get the shot off. Here's Florida sending it into Edmonton's zone. Pickard out to stop the puck. Here's Edmonton coming through center. Offside is the call. And the penalty being called to Florida here. Mr. Marchand is going to the box. I believe for hooking Connor McDavid. As Edmonton will get a power play. Face off one here by Florida as they try and clear it, but Bouchard keeps it in the zone. And Florida clears the puck. Pickard out to stop the puck. Minute 40 left here in the penalty to Marchand. As here comes McDavid with speed. As here is Draisaitl. And here's an attempted shot. Sticks were in the way of that. And Bouchard with the puck now. McDavid. Centered. Shot. Blocked in front. As Florida clears the puck. A minute left in the penalty as Pickard is out to stop the puck. I'm sorry. Here's Edmonton at center. Sending it into Florida zone. As here's Edmonton, but Florida tries to clear it. Here's Edmonton. 40 seconds left to go in Marchand's penalty. Sending it in deep is Edmonton. Klingberg now. Shot. Stopped by Bobrovsky. 20 seconds left in Marchand's penalty, and the chance in front couldn't get the shot off. In Florida. Tries to clear the puck. Here's Florida, and they clear the puck down the ice, and that will bring an end to the Marchand penalty. Florida is just giving a showing, both offensively and defensively. Here's Edmonton behind their net. Here's Edmonton now in their own zone. Now we got the scrum at center ice, and punches are thrown and tempers flaring as we're getting fights on the ice. And part of the bench getting involved as tempers are flaring. Everyone on the ice, except for the goaltenders, going for it. Even though it kind of would be cool if we got a goaltender fight. As cool as it was when the goalies to get kicked out. Nurse and it looks like number 12 of the Panthers are going at it. Punches are being thrown, and Schmidt and Nurse's fight is still going on. And referees are letting it go. And referees step on in to break up the fight, and fans and teammates are fired up after the fight. Jeez. The ice is now looking kind of like a junkyard after the fight, as they go to a commercial break. Tempers were just flaring as emotions were building up all throughout the game. Now, update on shots on goal, and shots on goal are equal with 27 per team. Hits are nearly equal, but Edmonton slightly leads 27-25. Edmonton leads in blocked shots with 14-12 over Florida. Edmonton leads in giveaways with 11, and Florida only has 6. What a sequence of events we just had. And refs are still talking. And cross checks to Bennett. Yeah, and then that's where the fights really started. Because after Bennett got some cross checks, and then, yeah, that's where tempers started to flare. That's when everyone on the ice basically went at it. That's where everyone's temper flared. And nearly 9.5 minutes left to go here in the third period. We'll see what the ref's ruling is here. Lots of penalties are being handed out, and Greer for the Florida Panthers is heading off the ice. Lots of penalties are being handed out here. Nurse is heading off for Edmonton, as well as Frederick for Edmonton. Lots of penalties being handed out by the refs here, as well as some misconducts. And Ekholm was sent off the ice. Still waiting for stripes ruling. Okay, Florida's on the penalty here, or on the power play here, I'm sorry. With 9.5 minutes left to go here in third period, and a face-off win by Florida, and a quick shot saved by Pickard. Here's Barkov over on the pass, and here's Florida now on the boards. Puck is out in center ice. There's 9 minutes left to go in this wild third period. Here's Florida. Puck is sent out of the zone again. Here comes Florida through center, sending it into Edmonton zone. Edmonton trying to clear, but Florida sends it around the boards. Here's Florida. Couldn't find anyone in front. Here's Florida again, saved by Pickard. Broken stick on the play. Here's Edmonton trying to come in short-handed. But here's Florida. Through center. Here's Edmonton trying to clear. 8 minutes left to go. And Edmonton tries to send it down the ice. Here comes Florida on the rush. Through center. Here's Florida. Tried to pass in front, but here's Edmonton sending it down the ice, and there goes the penalty. And we're back at even strength here. Here comes Florida through center. Edmonton gets the puck back, but quickly taken by Florida, and Edmonton sends it down the ice towards Bobrovsky as quick shot by Edmonton is denied. Another shot denied by Bobrovsky, and that goes out of play. welcome in if you're just joining in. We're having a wild third period so far as we had some fights and had some game misconducts. Lots of penalties were being called. So if you're just joining in, please click that subscribe button so you can keep updated with the madness of these Stanley Cup playoffs. And I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So it'd be much appreciated if you click that subscribe button. And Florida wins that draw as Florida in the corner now. Tries to clear the puck, but Edmonton brings it back out to center. Here comes Edmonton through center, sending it into Florida's zone. Big hit behind the net. Edmonton swings it to the opposite side, and the shot by Bouchard stopped by Bobrovsky. Another shot denied by Bobrovsky. And Florida sends it behind their net. Florida sends it down the ice, and Edmonton is back to pick it up, and Verhaeghe is down on the ice. Sorry. Looks like we might be getting a penalty. And the penalty will be under review here. Oh yeah, and Bouchard taken down Verhaeghe. Oh, and then kind of gave him a whack in the face with his stick. That's not very sportsmanlike. That's not very sportsmanlike if you're Bouchard. Here comes Stripes with the call. Bouchard will get a 2-minute penalty for slashing in a 10-minute misconduct, or is it Evander Kane? I believe might be Evander Kane who gets the misconduct. Here's Florida after the one face-off with the power play. Here's pass to the opposite side, and here's Florida again with fake shot. Here's another pass, and barely missed Pickard there. Here's the pass, couldn't get the shot off. And here's Florida. Minute and a half left in penalty, and good save made by Pickard as Edmonton sends the puck down the ice. And another fight could be breaking out here, and tempers are flaring. Looks like we're gonna get another fight here, maybe. Might just be another scrum. I see one glove on the ice. Or is that a helmet? Thought I saw someone's helmet on the ice here. Big scrum. Right in the corner. And Kachuk. Don't know what he was doing in front of the net, but the two Edmonton players that were there didn't like it, and then chaos ensued after that. As I believe more penalties will be handed out here. Wallman, I believe, will be thrown out with 5 minutes left to go. Wallman's been thrown out. Dang. Lots of ejections from tonight's game. At least there'll be more room on the bench. Yeah, that wasn't really too good of a joke. Here's the face-off. Florida has 2-man advantage now. Here's Florida. Jones. Here comes Florida. Jones again with the puck. Jones' shot blocked in front. Here's Florida. Edmonton clears the puck. 30 seconds left in the 2-man advantage for Florida. 4.5 left in the game. Here's Florida in Edmonton's zone. Here's Florida with a shot. And the puck goes up. Now they're playing more scrums in front of the net. Tempers flaring again. Yeah, I guess that's true. Early showers for some of the guys. And Kapanen just cross-checked Landeskog. And now he's talking to some fans as he's ejected as well. Hitting the showers early. Four minutes and 13 seconds left to go in this third period. Sorry. Edmonton might not have enough players to play hockey for the next 4 minutes, 13 seconds if they keep this up. At this point, or at this rate, Edmonton might not have enough players to finish the game. Here's the face-off at center, which Florida wins, which goes back into Florida zone. Here's Florida again, through center and into Edmonton zone. Here's Florida with a shot, and they score on the power play. Evan Rodriguez. As Florida has 3 power play goals tonight. Wow. Rodriguez on the one-timer. Beats Pickard blocker side. And back to 5-on-4 as Edmonton sends the puck down the ice. Florida sends it in. Edmonton clears the puck here again. Florida now behind the net. Pickard out to stop the puck, and Edmonton clears the puck down the ice again. Refs stopping the play again. As we might be going to 4-on-4 here. Why is this not loading? Might be spelling Rodriguez's name wrong here. Here's Florida now. Coming through center. Here's Barkov, 3-on-2. Here comes Florida. Saved by Pickard. Here comes Edmonton now, through center. Sending it into Florida zone, but quickly takes it out. Here's Florida in the corner. Coming through center and sending it into Edmonton's zone. Pickard out to stop the puck. Here comes Edmonton now on the power play. Sending it into Florida zone. And the puck is sent out of play. And Florida has 3 power play goals in this game. Here's Edmonton with the 1 face-off. Bouchard, shot, or pass. Chaos in front of Bobrovsky as he makes some crazy saves. And the puck is sent out of harm's way. Less than 90 seconds left to go. Here's Bouchard sending it deep. Here's a minute left to go, and we're back to full strength. Here comes Edmonton. "40 seconds left to go, and here's Edmonton behind their net. 30 seconds left to go. Here comes Edmonton through center. Florida behind the net. 10 seconds left to go, and it looks like Florida is going to clear this game out, and Corey Perry's going after someone. As time winds down, and the Rats come out in Florida. Thank you, Gogs. And Corey Perry is trying to go after some Panthers after the final buzzer. Well, that's gonna wrap up tonight's stream. Thank you all for joining in tonight. This has been a fun game to watch despite the Oilers losing. Despite Florida winning, it's a fun game to call. And might take a little step back here from streaming here until Game 6. And going to a baseball game here on Saturday, I believe. We'll have to see what else I do during the week here. So, this is Dawson signing off, and I will see you all in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And this is Dawson saying, have a good night.